as a real prophet or not. The Rambam said there's really only one flat out proof, and that is when the prophet says a future event that will happen, the tov, for good, specifically. Through that method is how we get to understanding if this prophet is be'emet a navi emet, if he's not a navi sheker. And with what we learned last week, we sort of closed off some of the basic statements of the Rambam of understanding who a prophet can be, how we know if a prophet's right or wrong, who are the Nevi'ei Sheker, who are the false prophets that we have to be afraid of. And as the whole point of this was sort of to understand how Nevuah and Halacha combine, so all this leads us really to the next paragraph, this paragraph on the end of page Lamed Daled, which is, for our purposes, the more important of all the paragraphs for learning the connection within Navi and Halacha. But right before we go to that, I do want to read you guys a little bit. We've referenced it a whole bunch of times. We talked about Yesodei Torah. The Rambam in the last 4 chapters of Yesodei Torah, which is Kishmo Kenhu, as its name it is, Yesodei Torah is the basis of all Torah. So the Yesodei Torah, the foundations of Torah, it's the first book in the Mishna Torah. And the last 4 chapters out of 10 deal with prophecy. The Rambam saw this as a major concept that Judaism is built on. We actually had prophecy. And he brings that in one of the Ikarei Emunah, right? To believe that Hashem gives prophecy to man. It's a big thing to understand, right? And I'll read it here in Yesodei Torah, Perek Zayin, the first chapter here. It's not, you guys don't have it. This is in Yesodei. So he says, Mi Yesodei Adat Leida Sha'el Menabet Bnei Adam. It is one of the foundations of faith to believe and understand that Hashem gives prophecy. It's I feel like sometimes we sort of like assume, yeah, of course Hashem gives prophecy. We learn prophets. We do this. When you really think about it, what it means that Hashem is a personal God. I'll say in that way. He's a personal God, even if it's to a nation. He actually connects. We are not in philosophy. We don't talk about just the concepts. There is an experiential connection with Hashem, which is real. Just like I'm talking to you guys, Hashem talks to people. It actually happens. There really is that event that happens. And sometimes it's hard to believe in a world that's bereft of prophecy, but it really happens. It's part of our essence of our belief. Because if he didn't, then there's no Torah. Really, there's no Torah. The whole universities, all academia, most of it is built on the basic assumption that there's no such thing as prophecy. And everything is man-made or historically or sociologically made and connected. So they could, in other words, you have like 2 parallel tracks that don't even touch. But once you understand that things are divine, we're in a completely different ballgame. Now this may be clear to you guys, maybe clear to everyone when we're talking. It's like barur, right? That's the way it is. But I'm convincing myself, even as I'm talking. And sometimes you just sort of learn Torah and you're in the world of Torah and it's its own world. It makes sense. It's logical. It's moral. But the connection between divine and humanity breaks what we would use as morality or philosophy or understanding. It breaks it. There is something that is given. Hashem gives these things. Not that they're not logical or they're not moral, but they are divinely inspired. That means it's more than whatever we could see. That motion is critical for actual religious belief. It's really what separates the religious person from the non-religious person. This deep-seated belief that there is a God who connected and affected our life in a real way. So the Rambam says you have to. If you don't believe that, there's nowhere to go from here. Yesodei Hadat. It is one of the foundations of our faith one of our foundations of our belief system, that Hashem minabeh b'nei Adam. Okay, so I just wanted to point out that that's an important, and he's willing to give 4 of the 10 chapters of Yesodei Torah to understand. He has in other chapters the love of God, the fear of God, the belief in God. Less chapters are given to that than prophecy. So that, and Ad Kedei Kach, the Rambam sees that as critical. Yet, prophecy and halacha, they have to mesh in a certain way. That's what we're talking about from the beginning. Okay, I just want to point out that the first Rambam, okay, where this first halacha, it's very clear. The Rambam, as we said last time, there's like a minimum ref. We say a minimum ref, not ref. Raf. I'm just translating Hebrew right into English. A minimum level at which we can start talking about someone being a prophet. Okay? There's like a minimum level. You ready for the minimum level? We talked about it last time in short. Here it says a little longer. ואין הנבואה חלה אל חכם גדול בחוכמה, גיבור במידותיו, ולא יהיה יצרו מתגבר עליו בדבר בעולם. He doesn't, his Yetzer has zero control over him, ever, at all. אלא הוא מתגבר בדעתו על יצרו תמיד. He always wins the battle against his Yetzer. It's not that he doesn't have a Yetzer, but he always wins the battle, okay? Bal de'ah rechava nechona ad mod. He has very, very wide comprehension. Adam shu mimule bechol hamidot ha'ele, shalem begufo, also physically. Ksheikanes lepardes. What's the pardes? The orchard, right? The secrets of the Torah, begadol, right? V'imashech be'otam inyanim hagdolim rachokim, and he goes into these deep spiritual issues. V'tiyeh lo de'ah nechona la'avin u'la'asig, and he really has good, honest, sharp thinking to understand in the things that he's learning. V'hu mitkadesh ve'olech, and he gets holier and holier. V'poresh midarkei klal ha'am ha'orchim memachshechei hazman, and he leaves what everyone else is dealing with, it's sports and money and all the things that people deal with. He leaves this. Ve'olech u'mizarez atzmo, and he goes and he strengthens himself and quickens himself. He doesn't think about shtuyot in any way. His mind is always focused. This guy is always thinking about godly things. To see the holy shapes that are in the Merkava, right, of Yechezkel. ומשתכל בחוכמתו של הקדוש ברוך הוא, כולה מצורה ראשונה טבור הארץ ויודע מהן גודלו. He sees, he goes deep into nature and physics and biology, and he understands from that the greatness of the Creator. מיד רוח הקודש שורה עליו. This guy, he could get Ruach HaKodesh. Okay? He can get Ruach HaKodesh. He can get the whole divine spirit. Okay? And then he goes up to the Malachim, and he turns into another person, and he sees, I'm not who I was. I've gone. He goes, He is raised above the level of all the other Chachamim. He is now like something new. Like Shaul. What's that there? Beseder. You guys, Right, he says all the Nevi'im. So he goes into a list of the things, how the Nevi'im. See, it's really great. These are I can't go into everything here. Okay, I just wanted to say this. The Rambam says though that he even though he says Miyad Shora Alav Ruach HaKodesh, it doesn't happen. It's Hashem decides to give him Ruach HaKodesh. It's not like it's a big break between the philosophers of his time and his time. The philosophers of his time said it's a natural progression. You reach this place and then you are opened up to the divine. He says no. When you've reached all this, there isn't a possibility for this to happen to you. Only then we can start talking to you, Bichlal. Maybe you'll have a nevuah, but that's only if Hashem decides to give you a nevuah. Only one prophet was able to have prophecy all the time. That's Moshe Rabbeinu. No one else had prophecy all the time. Okay, so in this chapter he has a big part of explaining how all the other prophets and Moshe Rabbeinu complete difference between what they are. I want to read one more thing. Okay, about what prophecy is for. Now we talked about this last time also, if you guys remember. We talked about how the Rambam said Hashem gave us prophecy sort of as an answer to all the fortune tellers and all the other things, that the Nevi'im will really tell people what to do, right? So the Shaul telling about the Atonot, about the donkeys, where they were, and then there's called the Ro'eh, because he sees, and the Rambam says it was a sort of a lower level, but here the Rambam opens it up a little more. HaNavi, אפשר שתהיה נבואתו לעצמו בלבד, להרחיב ליבו להוסיף דעתו, עד שידע מה שלא היה יודע מאותם הדברים הגדולים. A prophecy can be a personal prophecy, mamash, a personal prophecy that just expands your consciousness, expands your understanding, delves deeper into things you were learning, opens up your mind and your heart. Mamash, personal prophecy. Not go to tell anyone to do anything, not yell at the king, not tell Am Yisrael to do it. Zero. To you, to the prophet himself. ואפשר שישולח לעם מעמי הארץ, או להנשיר עיר, או ממלכה, or he could be sent to one of the nations of the world. It doesn't have to even be Am Yisrael. Or then to a specific city or a kingdom, לכונן אותם, ולהודיע מה יעשו, to tell them what to do or what not to do. Okay? Talks about the otot he gets, the signs he gets. Okay. And then he goes like this. Now we don't know. He says, right, he can make a sign and he's not a prophet. He could do a sign and he is a prophet. We said the signs aren't necessarily what proves that he is. And so even so, mitzvah lishmoah. Really, the Rambam emphasizes that the real check isn't if he can make the Statue of Liberty disappear. That has nothing to do with it. If a guy comes and I don't know what he does. He turns the whole Beit Midrash upside down, and we're all in it, and we're like, that's nothing. We take a look at the guy. He says, is this guy a tzaddik? Is this guy holy? If he's not holy, it doesn't even start. It's witchcraft. It's some kind of ridiculous thing that he's doing. We don't even begin to think that he's a prophet. We are not affected by otot and muftim. We're not affected by miracles, right? Miracles. You have to start, as we said, from level 1. If the guy is kadosh and then it happens, that's something else. Okay? And he says, "Shikach nitztavenu, kumo shenitztavenu lachtoch tadin al pi shnei edim ksherim, ve'af efshar sheyidu sheker, ho'il ve'ksherim הם אצלנו מעמידים אותם על כשרותם." Rambam does an amazing equation here. And he says a great example, which is a little frightening almost. And he says, in our justice system, the Jewish justice system, 2 Edim who come and say something, we accept as absolute proof. And one can say, they're people. You can make a mistake. They could be wrong. We'll kill people by 2 people, right? 2 Edim are enough to kill someone. If b'mikra that we get to dinei nafashot or whatever, they could take money from you. 2 Edim will come and say, Yosef gave Chaim $1 million, and Yosef says, I never gave it, or I never. What are you talking about? I didn't. Or Chaim says he never gave me $1 million. Then it doesn't matter if me and Idan come and we say, hey, we saw it, we were there, we experienced it, where we have everything. Chaim's going to have to give back $1 million to Yosef. And he says, why? Why are they so? Yosef doesn't agree. Yosef thinks we're liars. Why do you believe us? So the Rambam says, the Torah said to believe. That's why you believe them. You could go into, maybe it makes sense. Strut. The Rambam says, why? Because kacha, bekach nitztavenu. And he says, like these 2 Edim, so too you believe in a prophet. Could it be that he's lying? Yes. Could it be that he's making it up? Yes. Could it be that he said some specifics, but we didn't ask him all the specifics, and maybe he made a mistake? Yes, it could be. But the Torah said you believe this person. So we believe. It's an interesting sort of jump of faith. And the Rambam goes and he says, there are things that are hidden that Hashem knows. We do what we can do. We do what we can do. And we'll believe the prophet if he's on that level.
Questions?
Good.
So, firstly, when they had schools of prophecy, I'm curious if the bench line to even get in, you had to already have perfected your midot, or was it focused on like building people up to where they can reach the level?
We don't know. We don't know. We don't know, but I'm sure there was elementary school and high school and university. And in elementary school, they would work on your midot, on the basic midot. And in high school, you would work on your mind. And in the university, you would work on your imagination and the development of the higher levels of faculties.
I see.
I'm sure it was a process, 100%. I'm sure. I imagine.
Yeah.
Okay. And if you weren't good enough to get into university, you may not have gotten into university.
They wouldn't even teach you certain things.
Probably. Well, for sure. Again, you wouldn't get in.
From what I know about like proto-Kabbalistic works like Sefer Yasir or the Bahir, that they were taught in separate schools and they were only carried down to specific disciples, but I'm not sure if there's any way to know how far back that extended if people were studying prophecy not from those texts.
We really don't know. We really don't know. There were no texts, Lichora. It was all Baal Peh. It was all Torah Shebaal Peh, for sure. There was no text, unless someone wrote down to himself. But it was Masoret. And I imagine it would work. I mean, no kid is perfect at first, so they have to teach them.
Now, I have another question, but it might be a big can of worms. It's related to the two witnesses thing.
Oh, no, yeah.
If you're familiar with, I was researching like lost passages of the Book of Daniel that was found in the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Okay.
So it's non-canonical. It's not included in our Tanakh. But these ancient scrolls, which contain like the whole book of Daniel, but there's a few
other
passages,
parts.
and it tells a story. It's just one brief story, and it doesn't have much impact. But it's about these two rabbis who are spying on a woman, and then make up some lie about her, and to try and get her killed because she wouldn't sleep with them or something like that. And then so the two witnesses go to the court. And I expect everybody believes them, but then a prophet comes and says, you two are lying, and then proves it somehow.
Oh, but wow. That's interesting. It's pretty much what we're going to be talking about a little bit here. That's very interesting. Wow. Okay, hold on to that thought. I never saw that. I never heard of that. It's definitely not in the canonized Daniel. It doesn't make sense either, almost, I would say.
Yeah.
It's a story that doesn't fit into the Tanakh so much. I'm trying to think there's only one case, right, where we have false witnesses, Nachon? What? It's Navot, it's Kerem Navot, right, with Achav and Yezebel, who lie about a vineyard. Let's go. Okay, so holding this thought, the Rambam started here, what you get prophecy for, so it started with, it could be for an individual. You could just have prophecy yourself. A real flat-out prophecy, like on the highest level prophecy, it was just for you. And it goes up to going to nations and telling them what to do or what not to do. Is that there? But the Rambam in our book, he also said that something that the prophet does, right? What is he supposed to do? He says, right? If you guys want to see on page Lamed Aleph, right in the middle. This is the real prophet. שיקרא אל השם ויזרז על תורתו. ויצווה בני אדם לקיים התורה בלי תוספת בלי חסרון. One of the jobs of the prophet is to teach people Torah and tell them, do the Torah, keep the mitzvot. Hashem told me you guys should keep the mitzvot, and encourage them and push them to keep them, and warn them not if you don't keep the mitzvot. In other words, the prophet also has a part where, in a sense, he is the divine word strengthening kiyum mitzvot, the Torah and the mitzvot, which is the Sanhedrin's realm. And the other realm, he says, and it says afterwards, right after this, Sorry. He also tells things that aren't in the Torah, like go to war, don't go to war, go here, don't do this, don't do this, do this, in a political realm. So really a prophet is in a sense, he's like an addition to pretty much every level of life we have. People are supposed to live their lives normally. You learn Torah, you individually and as a tzibur, you go to war, you plow your fields, you make an economy, all these things you should be doing. Sometimes, because Hashem loves us, He gave us a conduit to know what to do in specific cases. From how to learn Torah better and get a better, deeper understanding into it, to strengthening the Torah and saying where things should be, we should be more strong or less strong, okay? This is, Hashem sees that this isn't going well. We didn't see it because we have, it didn't change anything in halacha. He just said, hey, people are wasting their time too much nowadays. You have a prophet who comes, you don't need a prophet for this, right? But you have a prophet who comes and says, Rabbi, Hashem says that the most horrible thing that we're doing is wasting time. Wasting time. We're watching too much YouTube. We're all too much on our whatever, okay? That is the thing. Now we sort of knew it was not good, right? We chinuch and we see ourselves and we waste our own time and our friends and our people around us. We understand that it's a waste of time. But we wouldn't say that's the issue. There's other issues. There's tzniut, and there's kiyum Torah, and there's lots of things. There's ishu ba'aretz, and there's who knows what, hundreds of things. The prophet can say, this is what really gets Hashem right now. He didn't change anything in halacha. He didn't say anything that you should do more or less. He just says, this, you should know that this is something that needs to be fixed. Which is wonderful, because right now we're shooting off in all the directions, right? What is the real thing that needs to be done? So the prophet could pinpoint, or the other way, he could say the mitzvah. Guys, this is the mitzvah that needs to be done right now. You guys all thought it was X. It's Y. This is what needs to be done now. More. Put your efforts and your energy into that. And in that way, the prophet is a divine director who tells us what to do now. Not that nothing else, you don't do anything else, but in this time, this period of time, in this slice of history, this is what needs to be done. And that's a wonderful thing to have. Because here we are sitting in Mechael Meir, learning Torah, and trying to figure out what is the right thing should be doing now. What is Dvar Hashem now? We always know you should be learning Torah. Nachon. We always know you should be doing mitzvot. Nachon. But now, in the 21st century, 2024, Tafshin Pei Dalet, what does Hashem want from us? What does He want from us now? Us, not me, you. Us. What should we be doing more? It's a real question. Maybe we shouldn't be sitting in yeshiva. Maybe should we all go out capturing the lamb? Maybe we should all go join my daughter on her farm and be shepherds. Maybe that's what we should all be doing. Going out and doing that. That's what we have to do. Capture the lamb. Maybe we should all be going into cities in Tel Aviv and in Rosh Ain and in Haifa and going and sitting and just learning with people on the streets, pulling people in and say, hey, let's learn Torah, let's love Hashem, let's cause Achdut Yisrael, let's do other things. Maybe that's what we should. Where we are, we're sitting in Mechael Meir, very nice, in the heart of Kiryat Moshe, where everyone here is religious, and it's the most comfortable place in the world, and we're sitting here drinking our cold water. We were anyway. And learning Akdamot Rambam for people who are interested, who are already in. What about all the people who are out? Why are we all sitting? We should all be going out there grabbing chavrutot off the street. Maybe that's what we should be doing now. I'm saying we don't know. So there are people who are doing that, and there are people who are doing that. And there are people doing this, and we say everything's important. That's right. But sometimes there's a specific thing that needs to be done at a specific time. That what a prophet would give you meaning and a focus meaning for your life and your time period. So that's another thing that he would do. So in that way, in a sense, he would be fine-tuning what I would call the Torah system almost. Okay, what is the mitzvah that needs to be strengthened, or what is the avera that needs to be fixed? And the other thing he does is that's the second realm. Okay, we talk about the individual, where we would help the individual, would help the cloud, and then, but there's another thing where he would tell a king, not in the realm of mitzvah of avera, he would say to the king, "Hey, go make peace with Saudi Arabia." It's not a mitzvah. It's not a mitzvah. It's not an avera. It's something else. Hey, raise the rebit, raise the interest, the national interest, the Bank of Israel, raise it to 4.8. What, is that a mitzvah or not? It's not a mitzvah. It's not a mitzvah. I don't know what it is. It's the economy of a nation. In that way, the prophet would help the king. He would help the king, the rule of the land. He would say what we should be doing now politically, economically, militarily, diplomatically. He would give yes, don't talk to him, do talk to him. Don't capitulate here, yes, capitulate there. Give this away, don't give this away. Come with it. That's what he would do. And in that way, you would have Dvar Hashem directing the political leaders. Can you imagine what that would be nice, wouldn't it? Stop the war now in Gaza, wipe them all out. Hostages, yes, hostages. Do you do it or not? Do you do the deal or not? Right, a deal on the table. Do you do it or you don't do it? Right now, we're shooting in the dark. We hope we're right. Or no, or we know we're not, whatever, we argue. If you had Dvar Hashem there, oh my gosh. Do you guys imagine what that would look like?
That makes sense, because that's basically what we hear about prophets being used for in the Tanakh.
Nachon.
All the time. It's like a king says, "Should I go to war with you?"
Nachon. That's what we're missing, Rabbi Isai. Okay, we're missing this. We're all shooting in the dark here. We don't know. We're trying to understand Ratzon Hashem with the methods we have, and the holier the person who says it, the more we could trust them. But no one's a prophet. We don't know. We just don't know. And it would be wonderful to know. Shkoyach. Thank you. Thank you. So the prophet would be like really affect Am Yisrael on many, many different levels. Okay, it was a wonderful thing to have. It was Hashem's love of us that we have prophecy, and taking away prophecy hurts a lot. So this is, you have to understand. We're sorely lacking something. It's sort of like we're groping in the dark, trying to see a room that we can't see clearly. We have our mind and we have our heart and we have our elders and we have our traditions and we have our understanding, our capabilities, but we don't have an additional actual conduit of the person Hashem, who really knows what's going on, to let us know and direct us a little more. Something
like he gives a picture, but they don't give the tool how to do exactly the process. That's why it's a bit struggling for people.
That Hashem gives a picture and He doesn't give the exact process?
Like the how to do it.
Sometimes He knows how to do it too. But whatever it is, we still have free will. That I'll remind you, okay? We still have free will. In other words, people who look at the prophet and say, okay. We said, no, Be'emet, that's what all of the Tanakh, unfortunately, is filled with this. Moshe Rabbeinu said, let's go into the land. The spies came back and they said, we can't do it. They said, we can't do it. Moshe Rabbeinu says to them, no, Hashem said to go in. No. That they did, flat out, right? They said no. So I'm saying, even when it was told, and even if you knew mamash what to do, people are people, and they always were people. People are scared, and they have fears, and they have inhibitions, and they have things that's hard. It's hard, right? When Hashem is telling us to do everything that we like to do, that it's wonderful. But suddenly, when He says to do something we don't like to do, or when it's scary or hard, then suddenly we. Hey, there's a great story of at the very end of prophecy. It's a great story in Tzom Gedalia. We've learned it in some context. At the very end of the Tanakh, when Gedalia ben Achikam is killed, the last governor of Judah. Okay, after the kings are killed, after the Beit HaMikdash is destroyed already, the Babylonian governor puts Nebuchadnezzar, the Babylonian king, makes a governor, a Jewish governor here, and we kill each other. The Jews kill him, assassinate him, and all the Jews here are going, "Oh, that's it, we're dead. Let's get out of here right now because he's going to come and kill us." So he gave us a governor, he left us here, and we killed him. That's it. Let's run away to Egypt. And before they run away to Egypt, they say, "You know what? Let's ask Yirmiyahu." And they go to Yirmiyahu, and they say, "Yirmiyahu, tell us what to do." Mamash, tell us what to do. He says, "Why should I tell you what to do? You're not going to do it." He said, "No, we swear. We swear we will do whatever you tell us to do, we'll do." So Yirmiyahu goes and he gets Dvar Hashem and he comes back and tells them, "Listen, Hashem says you guys should stay here. Say you're lying." But it's that blunt. Say you're lying. You're lying. Hashem didn't say anything to you. And they leave. It's, in other words, it can't get as straightforward as that. Okay, Yirmiyahu had just proven everything he said happened, right? But they thought he was lying until then. Then the Galut comes and the Khurban comes. Clearly he knew what he was talking about. But it doesn't matter. This is right after that. Like months after that, not years and years after that. Months after that, they know he's a real prophet. Sheker, you're lying. And they go. So I'm just saying, the prophet who says things, and it can be very specific. It's not just a process that you have to decide what to do. And he can mamash tell you what to do. To do it, though, is another level. So the fact that to do it, that's already, we always have free will, whether to accept it or not. So there? Yalla, let's speak. Tov, here we go. Ready? We're going to, that was sort of like, I just wanted to finish that from last time. Now, let's see where he does have a place in the halachic process, okay? Where is the Navi's place within halacha? So you guys with me? V'kasher titamet nevuat hanavi.
Lamed Dalet?
Where? Yeah, Lamed Dalet down here. V'kasher titamet, the very bottom. Yep, there. V'kasher titamet nevuat hanavi al pi ma she'asadnu. V'yitparsem inyano כמו שמואל ואליהו וזולתם. הרי יש לאותו הנביא לפעול בתורה פועל אשר לא ייתכן לאחד זולתו לפועלו. והוא מה שאני אספר. Says, okay. Once we have established that this guy is a real Navi, after everything I told you before, how you find out if he's a real Navi, I want to tell you what a Navi can do in halacha that no one else can do. He does have a place in halacha. Up until now, we said he can't say anything about halacha, but he can. There's one thing he can do. Ready? This is what he can do. This is very special in understanding the Rambam. וזה שאם יצווה לבטל איזו מצווה מן המצוות, מכל המצוות עשה, או יצווה לעבור על אזהרה מן אזהרות מכל המצוות לא תעשה, חייבים לשמוע על ציוויו בכל זה. והעובר עליו חייב מיתה בידי שמיים חוץ מעבודה זרה. Here the Rambam throws a bombshell into it. He says, if a Navi comes and says, "You guys got to eat pork today," Hashem said you have to eat pork today. You eat pork. You have to.
No.
Yep. No, that's great.
Torah.
Right?
It's the Oraita.
Right? Can I read it again? אם יצווה לבטל איזה מצווה מן המצוות, מכל המצוות, או יצווה לעבור על אזהרה מן אזהרות. Not allowed to eat pig, right? מכל המצוות לא תעשה, חייבים לשמוע. You have to listen to him.
I remember.
Mechael Shabbos. One second. The Rambam obviously going to caveat this,
Yeah.
but he says, "You go and light a fire on Shabbos." This is what Hashem said to me. Go.
You do it.
You do it.
Now it feels like I am in the people in the second temple, first temple.
Right.
We don't want to do it.
No.
Okay. Well, he's going to bring this in a
Listen to
second.
wouldn't
Hashem,
say
tell
that.
us what to do.
He's gonna.
Shabbat.
The Rambam's gonna bring this as a mashal, and he's great. He's great. This is the mashal he brings for lighting fire in the next paragraph. We'll see it. Okay, but let's go on. Except in avodah zarah, by the way. Okay, that completely nixed. You cannot do avodah zarah. In other words, if he says, "Go serve this," that's gone. He cannot be a real prophet. He does not have the legitimacy to allow avodah zarah. Okay, everything else he can. And that includes kill that person. That includes murder. It could include arayot possibly. I'm just saying. I mean, I can't even imagine how that would be.
Hashem commanded some prophets to do arayot and
Hosea, right? Hosea with Isha Zona.
have relation with his women. Okay. Have relation with his another
נכון, יפה, it's a good example, יפה. Okay, ready? וזה מפורש לחכמים בתלמוד ואומרם בכל, I'm up to the first line in the next page. בכל אם יאמר לך נביא עבור על דברי תורה, שמע לו, חוץ מעבודה זרה. Okay, it's a strong statement. Anything that Navi says to you, you do except avodah zarah. Ready? Hold on, this is it. Aval betnai shelo yatmid oto atzivui. The condition that it is not a tzivui that goes perpetually. V'yomar she'Hashem tziva b'zeh she'yaseh ken leolam. If he says, that's it, everybody, we can all eat pork from now on. That's it. Navi sheker. Immediately Navi sheker. If he said we can eat pork today, this week, tomorrow.
this is possible.
That's possible.
Rambam wrote it like in the Milchama and Milchama.
I said that, but whatever. It could say other things that aren't mutar and milchama. You could take something that there's no. You could all cut off all your hair here and do this. Whatever. All the Yisurim Doraita you could think of. Anything you could think of. All the mitzvot taseh and all the mitzvot lo taseh except avodah zarah. Okay, anything. The Navi has legitimacy to mevatel.
Even if the Navi said, okay, he jumped on this building.
Jump.
He commanded the person, okay, Hashem told me that you have to jump on this building.
Of course, that's pashut. That's easy. I'm talking about you have to kill the other person, push him off the building. For you to jump, that's one thing. Push him off the building, you also have to do it.
It's basically suicide.
I'm saying it's basically murder. That's even worse than suicide. Okay.
No, it's not basically people.
I'm saying this is everything.
Maybe an eagle flies by and Hashem swoops you up, and then everybody else.
No, these splatter on the pavement down the bottom. One second. He never said murder, and this is what the Rambam says. He doesn't say that's it. Erase lo tirtzach from the Aseret Dibrot. No, he says right now, Hashem says you should do this. Now, how long can he say that for? Right. The Rambam doesn't bring that in. Could he make this? How long could he say this? 100 years? Rabotai, in the next 100 years, no Shemitah. Can you say that? Or does it have to be very, very limited in time? The Rambam does not open that up, if I remember correctly. Say it again, but he doesn't open that up. Is that there? It's called the Horat Sha'ah. So it sounds like it's short. Sha'ah, right, is a time. But Sha'ah doesn't really mean an hour. Sha'ah in modern day Hebrew means an hour, right? Horat Sha'ah is a time. So let's take a look. It's
not bad.
אלא יצווה בו לפי מצב מה בעת מיוחדת. In a specific special time, the prophet says. והנביא עצמו יישאל כאשר יצווה לעבור על מצווה מהמצוות אשר ציוונו השם בהם על ידי משה. וישיב, כי זאת העבירה אינה מתמדת, אלא יש לעשותה עתה בלבד. He could say, he cannot say it's perpetual to do this. He has to say, it has to be done now, as he says, בדומה למה שיעשו בית דין בהוראת שעה. Just like a beit din can do a horat sha'ah. And here we suddenly hear that, hey, beit din can do a horat sha'ah. That's interesting. A beit din can do the beit din can't do this. The beit din can't change a mitzvah per se. They can, though, do things that are illegitimate in a regular situation. Whereas a beit din can kill people, not according to regular halacha. If they see that this generation is completely parutz, they do horrible things in a certain realm, in a certain area, they can say, anybody who does this from now on is going to get a much stricter punishment than the Torah does. What? Cleansing. For the people. It has to be done. So he says, this is what the Navi does. It's called a Horat Sha'ah. But the Navi has a very large range that he can affect. Everything except Avodah Zarah. It's all in his ability to change. Now, again, his ability to change. He can't just do it. If Hashem said, let's put it better. When Hashem tells the prophet to do this, we have to listen to it. Okay, let's put it that way. It's not right. It's not like the Navi doing something. It's that he got a prophecy. The Rambam is more talking to us, the people listening to the prophet. If the prophet tells you to do something, you have to do it. So this is a pretty serious issue. Who's explained, of course, in this because this is Eliyahu and Har Carmel. He's going to bring that in a second. Okay, right? Eliyahu brings the sacrifice outside Beit HaMikdash. You can't do that. It's Yisur D'Oraita. You have to, all sacrifices have to bring Beit HaMikdash. So let's take a look. Okay, that's the next thing he says. כמו שעשה אליהו בהר הכרמל, אשר הקריב עולה בחוץ, וירושלים כבר נבנה במקדש, וזה מעשה התחייב עושהו, אילו עשהו מבלי ציווי נביא כרת. If you just go bring a korban outside בית המקדש, you're חייב כרת. הזהיר השם עליו בלשון הכתוב, ואמרו פן תעלל אותך בכל מקום אשר תראה, we just read it a couple parshas ago, וחייב עושהו כרת. כמו שאמר במקריב בחוץ, like it says in the Torah, for anyone who brings a korban outside בית המקדש, ונכרת האיש ומעמיו. אבל הוא, עליו השלום, who's who? He, אליהו, עליו השלום, אילו נשאל בעת עקרו בהר כרמל, ונאמר לו, מה תאמר הנעשה כמעשה זה לעולם? היה אומר בו שהוא אינו מותר. If someone would come to him as he's bringing up this korban and say, hey, Eliyahu, can I also bring up a korban outside? Hey, you're bringing a korban outside. Can I bring a korban outside? He would look at him and say, if you do it, you're chayav karet. You go, well, but you're doing it. He says, that's right. Because Hashem told me to do it. That's why I'm doing it. And said, no, that's why I'm doing it. היה אומר לו בו שהוא אינו מותר, ושמי שיקריב בחוץ חייב כרת. אבל יעשה זה עתה, כדי לגלות בו שכרות נביא הבעל וביטול מה שבידיהם. Right? I'm doing it now, so that we can prove that the Baal is shtuyot, and Hashem is the real God. That's why I'm doing it now. That's why I have a heter to do it now. Okay? וכמו שעשה אלישע, בצוותו לישראל במלחמת מואב, לכרות עצי מאכל. Here's a little avera, right? Elisha, when there's a siege on Moab, he says, "V'chol etz tov tapilu." He says you could cut down the fruit trees. We know that's an isur d'oraita to cut down the fruit trees in a siege, right? Hashem said you cannot destroy the fruit trees. Says the Rambam, if Elisha would have been asked, there's no more mitzvah of cutting down trees? So now from now on we could do this? Only this time it can be done. Okay? Rabbi say, there's a big thing that a prophet can do. And the Rambam is going to realize just how problematic it is. And he's going to bring a great mashal. He doesn't usually do this. He's going to bring a mashal. And then he's going to bring the reaction to this mashal of what a normative religious person, how he would react to a prophet telling them to light a fire on Shabbat. Okay, it's great. The Rambam's great here. Okay, ready? So let's take a look at it. Do you want to ask a question?
Oh no, wasn't.
Okay. Ready? Here you go. The Rambam says, I'll bring you an example of what I'm talking about. Okay, let's make it real. Right here in this paragraph. And the second paragraph on the Lamed Hey. From this, you could infer for all the other mitzvot. Good Navi, checked all the boxes. He's an accepted prophet. אומר לנו ביום השבת, שנקום כולנו, נשים ונשים, ונביא רש, ונתקן בה כלי מלחמה, ונחרגם, ונהרוג אנשי מקום פלוני היום, אשר הוא שבת, ונשלול שללם, ונתיר נשיהם. כן? Ready? This is all the things. On Shabbos, go light a fire, make weapons, get up, go kill these people, okay? Take their shalal. You could have their women as eshet yafatar. היינו חייבים אנחנו, המצווים בתורת משה, שנקום מיד we would have a mitzvah to get up immediately. V'lo nitatzel, and not be lazy. K'mo shetzivanu, just as he said, v'naseh kol ma shetzivah bizrizut uvishkida. You do it quickly and thoroughly. Belo pikpuk ubelo hisus, with no doubt and no trepidation. V'na'amin bechol ma shenaseu be'oto hayom, and we will believe that everything we're doing in that day, asher hu Shabbat. Don't forget, it's Shabbat. Me'avarat ha'esh v'asiyat ha'melachot v'hariga v'hamilchama shehi mitzvah. This is a mitzvah. V'nekaveh lekabel alei agmul me'et Hashem. We will assume that we're going to get a reward from Hashem. Lefi shekiyamnu tzivuy hanavi. We just did the mitzvah. The Navi, listen to the Navi. Asher mitzvat aseh lekayem tzivuyo. There is a mitzvah to listen to the prophet. So the mitzvah to listen to the prophet overrides the mitzvah, because he has. This is the one override a prophet can have. Okay.
Most hardcore example we could think of.
כמו שציוונו השם על ידי משה, אליו תשמעון. Listen to him. ובא אלינו הקבלה, and we learn from the mitzvah to oral Torah, בכל, אם יאמר לך נביא עבור על דברי תורה, שמע לו חוץ מעבודה זרה. Right, that's what he quoted before. שהוא, אם יאמר לנו לעבוד היום בלבד, זו התליסמה, או להקטיר לזה הכוכב, ושעה זו בלבד, יומת ולא נשמע לנו. So if he says, even if he just says, just today guys, just today, bring a sacrifice to the red star. Even if he limited it in time and scope, he didn't say you could do Avodah Zarah whenever. Just now, just this minute, that's it. He's gone. So that's that. Okay, now listen to this. We were shaken up enough with the definition. The Rambam now goes into the psyche of us hearing this Navi say, "Go out on Shabbat, light a fire, make your weapons, go kill all these people, take their things." Ready? V'omnam, ish hachoshev atzmo yereh shamayim v'tzadik. Someone who thinks he has the fear of God and he's a tzaddik. V'uzaken ba b'yamim, and he's old already. Asher yomar, hinei ani zaken me'od. I'm already old. Shnei chayai kach v'kach. I'm whatever, 70 years old, 80 years old. Lo avarti al hamitzvah me'amitzvot me'olam. I have never, ever done an avera. Ve'ech akum hayom, asher hu Shabbat. Ve'evor al isurei skila, ve'elech lamilchama. How can it be that I'll go and be Mechael Shabbos? My whole life, I have been a good Jew. I've done everything right. How in the world will I be Mechael Shabbos? It's a great statement, right? This guy, he's old. He's already said. He's good. He's a tzaddik and Yerei Shamayim. Look what the Rambam said. Hachoshev atzmo, who thinks of himself as Yerei Shamayim and a tzaddik. He doesn't stop and say Hachoshev atzmo. Okay? V'ani lo eleh v'lo orid. I won't go up and go. I just won't do it. Yesh acherim bimkomi. There are other people who will go and do it, not me. Beseder, he said to do it, but beseder, other people will do it, not me. V'rabim anashim lekiyum zeh tzivui. There are enough people who can do it. Harei oto ha'ish over al divrei Hashem. V'hu chayav mita bidei shamayim. This guy who doesn't get up and do what he was supposed to do, he's chayav death. Bidei shamayim. So not bidei adam. Not the Beitin, but Hashem will, he has a death decree. She'avar al ma she'tzivahu hanavi. Ve'asher tziva al Shabbat, hu she'tziva lekayem tzivui kol navi. Hashem, the same guy who said you have to keep Shabbos, he's the one who says you have to listen to a prophet. So you have to listen to a prophet. ומי שעובר על ציוויו חייב מה שזכרנו, והוא אמרו יתעלה. והיה איש אשר לא ישמע אל דבריי, the person who doesn't hear my words, אשר ידבר בשמי, אנוכי אדרוש מעמו. I will take care of him. Hashem says, you don't listen to my prophet, I'll take care of you. Okay, right? So the Rambam saw how much we would, and it's amazing because the Rambam here goes into the psyche of man. Right? He goes into this guy, right? Oh, I'm old, other people will do it. It's not really going to affect anything anyway if I do it or not. There's so many people. No, you have a personal tzivui to go and do everything he just said to do. You have to do it. And don't think you're a tzaddik by not doing it. You're a rasha, and you're chayav mita. because you didn't do what the prophet said.
This can be very startling.
More than very startling.
Well, like, I'm sure there's plenty of individuals. It can be like anxiety-inducing for a person who maybe says like, takes Torah as a thing that brings order to their life, and like the mitzvah, putting everything in its right place. Like look at my ordered life. This is what I do. This is what I don't do. This is the mitzvah.
For sure.
It throws a wrench in the whole thing.
Of course.
It flips it. Everything.
Of course, the Rambam understood. That's why he brings the example, and Rambam doesn't always wax eloquent about everything. He brings this whole thing and the whole thought process of someone, and he understands him. He says, this guy's old, I've never done it before. He starts giving himself all the excuses in the world that make sense. They're not stupid excuses, they're good excuses. They make sense, just like you're saying. Right? We'd all be standing there like this. Right? Even though I want to say, there are places that we understand it very quickly, like Pikuach Nefesh. The Rambam uses something very alike when he talks about Pikuach Nefesh in Hilchot Shabbos in the Mishnah Torah. He uses language very much like what he said here when he said you have to do it. Don't be lazy without immediately, quickly. He uses something very alike when he talks about Pikuach Nefesh. He says when there is a Chashash Pikuach Nefesh, immediately go Mechael Shabbos. Immediately, don't start saying mu mi ma. Now, you do it right now, immediately. And if you don't do it right away, you're a Rasha. That's what he says. In other words, the Rambam says the halachic system has, I'd call it halachot that go around the halachic system. I don't even know how to say it. So they're not outside the halachic system, they're inside the halachic system. In halacha, there are loopholes that are inside the halacha. I don't know how to call it. It's not outside halacha. It's not a loophole that goes against the halacha. It is another level of halacha. There are halachot that override the regular halachot. Pikuach nefesh is one of them, and listening to a prophet is another one. Is that all? It's another override inside halacha, but it can only be lisha'ato. The minute the prophet says, that's it. We could always eat pork from now on. Boom. He is a false prophet. Ba'makom. Because his legitimacy to listen to him comes from halacha. You guys have to understand. And if you break halacha, there's tweaking halacha and there's breaking halacha. Tweaking halacha means right now you can do it. You can't do it tomorrow. You can't do it the day after. You can't do it yesterday. Right now you can do it. But if you break the Torah in that sense, then you're a false prophet immediately. Your own legitimacy goes away. Why? Because why do I listen to you? Because the Torah said, exactly, because the Torah told you to. The only reason I'm listening to this prophet is not because he's pretty and he's impressive. Shum davar. I'm listening to him because Hashem said to listen to him. Just like Hashem said to do Shabbos. So I'm just, really, in this sense, this is sort of what you were saying before about how it's very hard to assume someone who's orderly life. Really, this, in a sense, is saying, are you doing Ritzon Hashem, or are you doing what's comfortable for you? Right? It's really, in other words, this is Ritzon Hashem. That's really what we're doing. And the prophet is a unique figure who can give you Ritzon Hashem for the moment. That the Torah is, I would say, a general statement, but it's for the moment. We never know what to do right now. Right now, are we supposed to be learning Torah? Are we supposed to be out exercising? What should we be doing right now? Lo barur, it's not 100% clear. Sometimes it would be you go out and exercise, get your body in shape. Otherwise, you'll fall apart. And you're learning Torah now is hurting Torah that you'll be able to learn for years and years in the future. Nachon? But we don't know. We just never know when it is or when it's not. The prophet could say, stop, close your books, everyone outside, jogging pants, 5 minutes, meet me outside, we're going for a run. That's what the prophet could say. In that way. And then he would say, this is Ritzon Hashem. It is deeper now than the mitzvot that you thought were exactly right. It's wrong because now this isn't what he wants. But only a prophet can say that. No one else can say that with certainty. I can say we should do exercise. I can say we should learn Torah, obviously. When, how much, where, and what, that we're shooting. We're in the dark.
I suppose the core of the psychological difference between something like Pikuach Nefesh and listening to a prophet is that Pikuach Nefesh is something you feel, as an individual. Like you understand that you are in danger, and therefore,
or someone else is in danger. But yeah,
being told by someone else, "Oh, this is what you need to do now," has a very different psychological response.
Okay, I understand, but I'm saying, I agree with you 100%. Especially since that's not a horat sha'ah. Pikuach Nefesh is an eternal statement.
Okay.
And we've already incorporated it into our halachic system.
Okay.
This is exactly not that. This horat sha'ah breaks out of the regular halachic system and will shock you no matter what. It will always, that's what we're talking about, being shocked by a prophet. Okay? And you're never ready for something like this. You can't be ready for something like this because it's exactly not supposed to happen a lot. It's not supposed to happen all the time. And it can't happen all the time or be perpetual. And we will always relax and shock when you heard it. But he says, get over your shock very quickly. Go. You heard it? Do it. Go for it. Let's say there. Okay. Now look at this great statement. Okay. 1 second. Omnam. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines from the top on page Lamed Vav. Ve'omnam. Second word on the line. Omnam. Mishik shor kesher kayam b'zeh yom HaShabbat. בעת עשותו אלו המלאכות, ממה שלא יצטרך לו לשום עזר לקיום הציווי אשר ציווהו הנביא, חייב סקילה. You're there on Shabbos, and you decide to tie a knot. It has nothing to do with what you're in the middle of Chilul Shabbos. You're killing people, you're burning things, you're lighting fires, you're making kelim, and you say, oh, I forgot to tie my curtain. And you go to your curtain, you tie it with the wrong kind of knot, a knot that you're not allowed to tie on Shabbat. You're chayav skila. In other words, Shabbos didn't disappear, Rabotai. You have to do exactly what the prophet told you. You're not saying, it's not a free-for-all. Okay, that's it. No more Shabbos today. Kadima. You could only do exactly what he told you to do. And if you don't, you're chayav skila, like everyone else, just like everyone else. And if you come and you say, oh, I thought it was okay to do this now. No, you're wrong. Because the halacha is the framework for what the Navi says. The Navi is internal to the halachic system. He's not external to it. Listening to the Navi is internal, and therefore it's sort of like a bubble inside. That's how I picture it, like it's a bubble. And the bubble only is the bubble. It doesn't ruin everything around it. Everything exists. Everything's still there. We just sort of made an area that's a dimension that's not Shabbos right now for these purposes. But for everything else, it's Shabbos Legamre. Right? Do you say Kiddush today? What do you mean did I say Kiddush today? No one said you didn't have to say Kiddush today. Say Kiddush, and then go kill the person. And then go do what you have to do. Now, did the Navi say don't say Kiddush? He didn't say don't say Kiddush. No, but no, I'm in a way, if you could. Now, he said, the Rambam says, if you can't do what the Navi says, then obviously you do what the Navi says. But be'emet, no, you can't say, all right, that's it, we're done. Mamash not. He is limited. Now he goes on. It's great what he says. Ready? Okay, he goes on. ואם יאמר זה הנביא עצמו, אשר ציוונו במה שציווה בזה יום השבת וקיימנו את ציוויו, שתחום שבת 2,000 חסר אמה, או 2,000 ואמה, וייחס זה שהוא מצד הנבואה, לא מדרכי העיון וההיקש, הרי זה נביא שקר ויומת בחנק. If this guy comes and says, the same guy who all of Am Yisrael does Mechael Shabbat for, and he says, and you know what else Hashem told me? That Tchum Shabbat is not 2,000 amot, it's 1,999 amot. We stop at that moment, we chop his head off, right? Or give him chenek. You're Navi Sheker. What did you say? You just chained Tchum Shabbat on us? That doesn't work.
What is that?
Tchum Shabbat. It's a I would say it's a minor halacha because it's not Isur Skila. We just learned this, and then in Sanhedrin, that you're not allowed to leave the place you are on Shabbat more than a kilometer, 2,000 amot. So if this guy comes and says, Oh, it's not 2,000 amot, it's 1,999 amot. That's what Hashem said. It's not 2,000 amot. You made a mistake.
Navi Sheker?
Navi Sheker, like mukhlat.
Wow.
And he's gone. Is that there? The same guy, we just Mechael 100 things for him. This, if he says that, because he changed halacha. Yeah. You don't change halacha. You have no legitimacy. Right? He says if he says it through his nevuah, if he said it through iyun vehekesh, if he does it through learning, and he proves it from the text, or he has some kind of Kabbalah, that's something else. If he stays in the halachic system and explains what he's saying, not because divinely Hashem told him something, because that's the way he understands the Torah, okay, he's a Rav. Doesn't mean we'll listen to him. Sababa, we heard you. What we're going to do, bring it to the Sanhedrin, have a discussion, and if you get 35 other people like yourself who agree, then it will be the halacha. And if you can't, then it's not. But you're just a regular rabbi. The fact that you're a prophet means nothing in this. He's going to emphasize this more. But the fact that you're a prophet means zero in the halachic process. This guy who a second ago had us all off doing who knows what, when he sits down in the Beit Midrash the next day to talk about Hilchot Shabbos, right? That we all just sit. He's just like everyone else. Just like everyone. He's very smart, obviously, otherwise he wouldn't be a prophet. He's wise, but if he says anything besides a accepted Torah learning practice, here, let me just finish. Again, go ahead.
A lot of people think that Mashiach is going to come and he's going to be like the ultimate posik. He's going to solve all the machlokas, but he's really, in essence, like a prophet. So this written by Rambam, it seems like contradicts what
people think.
So some people think. Like,
well, the Rambam has no problem contradicting what most people think, as he says very often. Most people think this way, most people think this way, and I'm telling you people, it's not that way. He says that often. So again, the Rambam would say the Mashiach will be a great prophet. He actually says, will be a prophet a little less than Moshe, right? And he'll be very wise. But yeah, he would not say he has a halachic adifut. Here, let's go on. He says it mamash. And now understand from you understand yourself about everything else a Navi can say. Any place in the Tanakh, when you see a Navi going against the Torah, this is the key to understand it. How he did that, okay? Horacha. Ready? Hold on to this. This is the only thing that he's different than anyone else in Torah. Learning, understanding, delving into the Torah, he's just like any other rabbi. Okay, so he gives a perush to the Torah, and someone else gives a perush to the Torah. Hashem tells me that I'm right. Lo nishma elav. You won't listen to him. Ela elef neviim, kulam ke'Eliyahu ve'Elisha, im yifreshu perush, ve'elef chachamim ve'chacham yifreshu hefech ze, acharei rabim latot. Ve'alacha k'divrei elef chachamim ve'achacham, lo k'divrei elef hanevim agdolim. You got that? You have 1,000 people like Eliyahu and Elisha sitting there saying, this is the halacha. And 1,001 chachamim who say it's not the halacha, or the halacha is otherwise, you go by the 1,001. The Rov, that's how you do it.
Even the prophet is in there, so.
The prophet is just a chacham. That's what he says. The prophet has zero advantage in halacha. Zero. He is a chacham l'chol davar. Again, just like I said, Eliyahu and Elisha. These are people who have divine voices talking to them all the time. Not when he gets into the Beit Midrash. He has to take off his Navi mantle, put it down, and come sit down and learn with everyone else. He has no advantage in the Torah. It's an astounding, humbling experience for the prophet himself, who receives Dvar Hashem, but in the Beit Midrash he's just like everyone else.
was thinking all the time that the top is in the top, because Hashem is talking to them all the time. So if they said if they do the Devar Torah or Devar something, then you have to listen to him.
Right.
So they're just normal, like going to bed.
So not in halacha. That's what he says. Not in halacha, unless he gives you the horat shah. Right? If he comes again, like we said, he said today you have to eat pork. You have to listen to him legamre. But if he says, I think he's sitting learning Torah. He says, I understand this is the halacha from the thing, and you understand otherwise, and we start arguing about it, and then I say I'm the prophet from yesterday. I say, hold on, I'm right. How do you know? Hashem just told me. You say, forget it, pal. It doesn't work here. It doesn't work here. What?
It's the story of Rabbi Eliezer.
That's the story that I brought here of Tanur Shalachnai. Right? That we'll see in a minute. So I just want to finish this, and then I will open up two stories in the Gemara, okay, where we see this concept very powerfully. All right? So let's finish this up first in the Rambam. V'kach yomru hachachamim. Ha'elohim. This is the thing. Ilu amara li Yoshua ben Nun bepumei lo havei tzaitin alei lo shamana minei. Right? This is a Gemara in Chulin, where one of the Chachamim says, right? He says, I swear, even if Yoshua ben Nun would tell me this by him in his mouth, I wouldn't listen to him. I wouldn't listen to him. Even if Yoshua ben Nun would come and say, this is the halacha, I say, who are you to tell me what the halacha is? I don't agree. If Eliyahu comes and says, this is the halacha, which is the halacha that we decided, sababa. If he says it's the other way, we don't listen to him. There is no point, no way, no advantage to the Navi in any way. Okay? שהשם אמר לו כי הדין במצווה פלונית כך, וכשהקשו של פלוני הוא נכון, ready? אותו הנביא יומת. We kill the prophet for saying that. It's pretty, for saying the halachas, they're having an argument, and I come and say, Chaim is right. How do you know, Mr. Prophet? Because Hashem just told me. Say, goodbye.
Why is it death penalty?
Because a false prophet is death penalty.
Where are they?
Because he's a false prophet.
Because he's saying a permanent change to halacha?
Because he's even trying to attempt. He's trying to attempt to change the halachic process through prophecy. Hashem doesn't allow that. It's not in the game.
Where did he got these prophecies? Just saying it out of nothing?
We can assume that.
Well, hold on with that question. Okay, hold on with that question, because that's the story that's going to happen very soon. We're going to see that.
Yeah, I'm just confused because what's this? Is it Rabbi Eliezer?
Yeah. Tanur Shalachnai. That's the major one.
He wasn't a prophet though.
No, but he has a divine voice. A divine voice comes out and says this.
Did they kill him?
You don't kill him because he's not a prophet, right?
Right, because he didn't say Hashem told me something. He says they'll prove it from Shemayim. Okay, he doesn't say this is Hashem told me that this is halacha. He says it will be proved by Shemayim. He said there, but that's that story. You know, I don't know if you know the story. Yeah. We'll see it in a minute. He said there.
It's a pretty fine line.
But he say with Hashem will give two people is fighting. Hashem will give the answer to one of them who is right, but
we'll see the story.
Okay, well, and that one we'll see the story. Okay, let's go on. Yetzulamar was like אותו הנביא אומת, לפי שהוא נביא שקר, כאשר ייסדנו מפני שאין תורה אחרי השליח הראשון, ולא תוספת ולא חיסרון, לא בשמיים היא. There is no additional prophetic input to the Torah after השליח הראשון. Who's the שליח הראשון? Moshe Rabbeinu. After Moshe Rabbeinu, that's it. Prophecy and halacha separated. There's no more place for them anymore. ולא יפנה אותנו השם אל הנביאים, אלא יפנה אותנו אל החכמים אנשי ההיקש. Hashem does not send us to the Nevi'im, He sends us to the Chachamim, Chachmei HaHikesh, the wise men who use the Torah, the way that you have to learn Torah. Okay? לא אמר ובאת אל הנביא, אלא אמר ובאת אל הכהנים הלוויים או אל השופט. Says the Rambam, the Chachamim talk about this all the time, and they're right. There's no place for the Navi in the halachic process. Not only that, what he did here in a brilliant move is he turned the Navi, as I said, the bubble inside the box, the Navi is entailed in halacha. He is legitimized by halacha. He is not para halacha. He's not meta halacha. He is in halacha. His definitions of what he can do and what he can't do, the limitations, what he can say, what he can't say, that's all defined in halacha. He can't break out of that. He breaks out of that, he is killing himself in a sense. He's pulling the plug on himself. If he tries to break out of the halachic definitions and limitations that are put on him, then he pulls the carpet out from what he's standing on. Because the only reason we're listening to him is because halachically we have to listen to him. And if you want to break out of your halachic abilities, then that's it. You just killed yourself. You just framed yourself, in a sense. So it's very important to understand this. The Rambam is critical for him that nothing is outside halacha. That's sort of what he says. That halacha describes what is it. Now there are areas that aren't halachic, right? And that's that the prophet has as free reign there. The Torah doesn't say what you could say or what you can't say about that. Yes, go to war. Don't go to war. There's nothing halachic about that question. Is that there? How many hours a day I should be doing X or Y? That's not a halachic question. It's halacha affects that question, but it doesn't specifically tell each one of us what to do or what to do today or next year or the year after. So there, if you have a prophet, that's great to have a prophet who could tell you exactly what Ratzon Hashem is for you in that specific situation. That's fine. But in the halachic process, in the Torah and mitzvot, you heard the Rambam, he's very, very strong in his statement. He's not mincing words there, okay? He says he's just like everyone else. Completely. So there are two major sources for this discussion in the Gemara, okay? For this discussion about prophecy and halacha. The most famous, and maybe possibly the most famous Agadah in the whole Shas. Okay? Is called Tanuro Shel Achnai. Okay? Tanuro Shel Achnai was an oven that it was apparently a new development. Okay, it was like a new technology where you could take apart the oven. Okay, it had parts, and you could take it apart. It had sand in between, and you would put it together, and it would be whole, and then you could take it apart. And that was new, because what's the problem? That usually a kli, when you break it, it becomes tahor. Okay, how do you make a kli tahor? You break it. And when you remold it together, it becomes a new kli and it's tahor. But this one was sort of in the middle. You break it, but you rebuild it. So So did you break it or did you not break it? Is it broken or not broken? How do you relate to this oven? And that was the machloket they had. Okay, there was a machloket where Rabbi Eliezer said that it's tahor, and all the other chachamim said it's tameh. Okay, now Rabbi Eliezer wasn't just stam a chacham; he was Rabbi Eliezer. Okay, Rabbi Eliezer Hagadol they call him. He was a great Talmid Chacham. Okay, great Talmid Chacham, whose mind he never forgot anything. He had like a completely photographic, and not that whatever. I guess hierographic. I don't know how you would say it.
Eidetic memory.
That's what you say it? Anything you hear, you remember?
Oh.
What is that called? Anything you hear, you remember.
About what?
Rabbi Eliezer, everything he heard, he remembered. In other words, he would not forget anything. So that's what he knew. Everything that anyone would say to him, in Torah at least, it was there and accessible, not just he remembered. It was there and everything was there. In other words, he was like the whole Torah in that sense. Okay? So to argue with him, you'd have to have a lot of guts to argue with Rabbi Eliezer. And so he has someone who argues with him. But here, all the Chachamim didn't agree with him. Okay? Tana, be'oto hayom, heshiv Rabbi Eliezer kol tshuvot sheba'olam. Rabbi Eliezer tried to prove to them in a billion different ways that he's right, that this tanur, this new oven is tahor. Ve'lo kiblu imenu. They didn't accept it. They weren't convinced. Amar lehem im halacha kmoti charuv ze yochiach. He says, if I'm right, if the halacha is like me, this carob tree will prove that I'm right. And the carob tree gets up and walks 400 meters. Ne'ekar charuv mimkomo 100 ama v'amre la-400 ma. 100 meters, 100 amot, or 50 meters, or 200 meters. Amru lo, en mevim raya min ha-charuv. What kind of proof is that? That the carob tree got up and walked. Ma kesher. That's what they say. And you don't bring a raya from the place. He says, okay, if halacha is like me, amat hamayim yochiach. The water channel will be proved. And the water channel, which as we know, goes by gravity from the higher end to the lower end, starts going the other way. Turns and starts going up. And they say to him, Ma kesher, right? Amrulo en mevim raya me'amat hamayim. You can't bring a proof from amat hamayim. Chazar ve'amar lehem im halacha kmoti kotlei bet hamidrash yochichu. Says if the halacha is like me, the walls of the Beit Midrash will prove, and the walls start falling down. Okay. Ga'ar behem Rabbi Yoshua. Rabbi Yoshua is Rabbi Elazar's counterpart. Okay. Rabbi Yoshua gets up and says to them. And listen to what he says. Rabbi Yoshua yells at them. Amar lehem, im talmidei chachamim menatzchim ze et ze b'halacha, atem ma tivchem. Says, we're arguing in halacha. What are you getting involved? What are you doing here? What are you doing? And it says, the walls didn't fall in lichvodo shel Rabbi Yoshua. They couldn't fall because Rabbi Yoshua just yelled at them. But they can't go back because Rabbi Eliezer said, so that they should fall, all that they should prove, and it says that this is fabulous. We could be on this like the whole year on this. Why? These are the examples. Okay. Lo naflu mipnei kvodo shel Rabbi Yoshua v'lo zakfu mipnei kvodo shel Rabbi Eliezer ve'adayin matin ve'omdim, and they are still falling and standing. This is they're still there. That's what it sounds like. Okay, adayom hazeh. Adayin. It doesn't say adayin hayu. It says adayin. There's still, these walls are still in the middle. Okay, now comes the big one. Ready? It's not over. Amar lehem im halacha kmoti min hashamayim yochichu. If I'm right, they'll prove it from shamayim. Yatzta bat kol. A heavenly voice comes out and says, Ma lachem etzel Rabbi Eliezer shehalacha kmoto bechol makom. Why are you arguing with Rabbi Eliezer? He's always right. Halacha is always like him. That's pretty good, nachon? Amad Rabbi Yoshua al raglav. Rabbi Yoshua gets up. Ve'amar lo b'shamayim hi. Says it's not in heaven. So the Gemara doesn't give that. He says, what does that mean? It's not in heaven. My lo b'shamayim hi. Amar Rabbi Yirmiyah shekvar nitna Torah mehar Sinai. Ve'en anu mashgichim bevadko. Shekvar katavet behar Sinai b'Torah acharei rabim la'atot. Rabbi Yirmiyah explains what Rabbi Yoshua said when he said lo b'shamayim hi, and says, no more. That's it. No more batkos. No more mishamayim. You gave the Torah already, and the Torah it says, how do we decide halachic matters? Majorities. We don't follow voices from Shamayim. No more involvement from Shamayim in halacha. That's what he says. The story is not over yet. There's one more. Chutzpah chaval hazman, right? A heavenly voice comes out. Well, it gets even better. Again, these stories are so smart and they're so complex that I'm just giving. This is just like a basic. They don't accept it. They don't accept miracles. Don't prove anything in halacha. And even when a heavenly voice comes out and says the halacha is like this guy, the other chacham gets up and says, "We don't listen to voices from heaven. You don't listen to it. The Torah is not b'shamayim. It's down here." So there. Now it gets even funnier. You guys remember that last part here?
Yes.
The last part is even better. Now it goes on. It says, "Ashkeche Rabbi Natan leEliyahu." So after this happens, I imagine everyone's going nuts in the Beit Midrash, right? It's a wow. Right? So Rabbi Natan goes out and finds Eliyahu and Avi. And he says, listen, I got to ask you a question. Amar le, Mai avid kuche brichu be'aishata. What did Hashem do when that happened? When Rabbi Yeshua gets up and says, Lo b'shamayim hi. What does Hashem do? This is a wonderful question, right? Ready, what's the answer? Kachiech ve'amar, nitzchuni banai, nitzchuni banai. Hashem smiled and said, my children beat me, my children beat me. It raises the hair on the back of your neck when you understand how intricate these agadot of Chazal are. Right? Hashem smiled and said, my children beat me, my children beat me. Now, there's a ton of perushim on this Agadah. Again, this may be the single most famous Agadah in the whole Shas. Okay? Because it has so many aspects. It's so important in so many things. Okay? But when the Rambam quoted there, Lo b'shamayim hi, that's who he's quoting. He's quoting Rabbi Yeshua, Lo b'shamayim. He wasn't quoting the Pasuk Lo b'shamayim. He's quoting Rabbi Yeshua in this story, Lo b'shamayim hi. And this is really one of the Rambam's major sources in understanding that, and it doesn't matter, you can't use magic, you can't use supernatural proofs in the halachic system. It doesn't work. The question here has, and that's what the question you guys is, so why did Hashem allow it to happen? That's a funny question here, right? Why did Hashem mishtatef peula with Rabbi Eliezer? Why, when Rabbi Eliezer says, Bat kol yochiach, Hashem should have said, hey, Rabbi Eliezer, I don't do this anymore. What do you want? You're wrong. It was not. No, he comes back and says. That's a fascinating question. Okay, why Hashem is part of this? Why does he play part of it? And one of the answers I saw was interesting was that he's testing us.
Yeah.
It's a test. In other words, Hashem allows certain things to happen, just like a Navi Sheker. Remember? One of the questions we had in the Torah itself, the Torah says, why are you doing this, Hashem? Why are you letting this guy perform miracles? Hashem tests us. Sometimes it's weird. He tests us in things that seem to be, this is what Hashem wants, and it's not what he wants. That's why he laughs and smiles and says, my kids beat me, but he's winking and smiling when he says it. In other words, they beat me like I want them to beat me. So they beat me in a way because they're doing my ratzon deeper than the superficial level.
They did what I hoped they'd do.
Okay. So that's, again, I did not do justice to this story. Okay, this story is massively intricate. But let me read another one that I won't do justice to either because we're learning it very shortly. This is Masechet Tmura, which is actually, I can't tell you that I've learned Masechet Tmura. It's one of the more archaic Masechtot, deals with changing animals. We just learned at the end of the last parsha, Bechukotai Mamash, the last mitzvot in Bechukotai have to do with this. But, ready? So he goes like this. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel, 3,000 halachot nishtakchu b'imei evlo shel Moshe. 3,000 halachot were forgotten when Moshe died. It was Moshe, remember, who had all the halachot come from Sinai. Remember how the Rambam began our Akdama? And he would teach it to Aaron, and then to the sons, and then to all the Zkenim, and then to all of Am Yisrael. Remember? You guys remember the order that we had in the beginning of the Rambam? Right? 4 times, right? And then everyone hears it 4 times, and then the students taught it 4 times. Kitzo, because it was a ton of stuff to remember. And they said they went off afterwards, and they talked about it, and they learned it. When Moshe died, with all that, 3,000 halachot disappeared. In other words, how big does the sukkah have to be? Do you guys remember what he said? How big the sukkah has to be? No one remembered how big it is. Now they're intricate halachas. They're 613 times hundreds and possibly in each mitzvah.
It doesn't know like it's all everything to hand over to generation.
It's supposed to continue from generation to generation. Moshe brought down all the mitzvot with all the halachot, or a lot of the halachot, right? Remember? And he told the people, it was all orals, all Baal Peh. They didn't write it down. So now you have to remember. And they forgot. They forgot 3,000 halachot. Nishtakchu b'yamei avlo shel Moshe. Amru lo leYoshua. This is what they say. She'al. They went to Yoshua and they said, ask. Ask who? Ask Hashem. You're a prophet. Yoshua talks to God. He says, Yoshua, ask Hashem what the halacha is. How big a sukkah has to be. What are the arba minim? Ask him what it is. We don't remember. We have the text. Right? Moshe wrote the Sefer, right? Wrote the Mishna Sefer Torah. We have the text, but we don't remember. Ask Hashem. Amar le lo b'shamayim. It's not from Shamayim. Amru lo Shmuel Sha'al. Same thing. They went to Shmuel and they said, ask. He said, Ele ha-mitzvot, en navi rashai lechadesh davar me'ata. I'm just like you people. I can't say anything new. I can't teach you anything different. I'm just like you. I'm just a regular person. I don't have any superpower here in figuring this out. Okay? And it goes on, talks, whatever. It gets there. There's another midrash that says they get mad at Yoshua. They want to kill him. Because he doesn't remember. At the end of the day, it says, Amar Rabbi Abau, Afa pichen hichziram Otniel ben Knaz mitoch pilpulo. Otniel ben Knaz manages to re-establish these halachot. He figures out how to learn them out. And that's sort of like the Gemara does. You learn from the letters and from the connection of the words. He re-remembered the halachot through the text. Otniel ben Knaz. Okay. It was Kalev's nephew or whatever, cousin or something like that. But these two sources are major sources, right? They ask Yoshua the easiest thing in the world. Just tell us. It's over. Moshe, and now here, if we go back, even though we're going over our time already, Moshe was unique because Moshe could ask. The continuation of the midrash there is that Moshe, right before he dies, he says to Yoshua, listen, ask me anything. If you forgot anything, just ask me now, before I die. Ask me the things. And Yoshua says, what are you talking about, Moshe? I was with you all the time. I was with you every second. You even wrote about me that I'm a nar, lo yamish mitoch oil. In the Torah, it says I never left the oil. I was always with you. Boom, he died, 3,000 halachot go. Okay? And then he forgets. But Moshe Rabbeinu was still in a different mode. And the Rambam mamash holds that. He says Moshe Rabbeinu's prophecy is completely different. His connection in halacha was different than anyone else. But once Moshe dies, that's it. That's why the Midrash puts this into Yoshua. Even Yoshua is right the second after Moshe Rabbeinu. That's it. It's a completely different reality. And that's the reality we live in. The reality we live in is this reality of the halachic reality, where the prophet has that one unique thing he can do outside the realm of what a regular person to do, which is pretty powerful, right? The horat sha'ah. But everywhere else, he's just like everyone else. And therefore, there's no things. So, when you go to a Mekubal, or you go to a Kabbalist, right? You go to a Kabbalist and you ask a question. If he says a halachic decision, in a sense, I'm telling you, this is Mishamayim, you should follow this. You have to freeze for a moment, okay? Now, sometimes, what?
And then behead him.
And then behead him. Oh, I have an axe here. No, but I'm saying that, in other words, a question for a Mekubal where we would ask, should I get married or not get married? So there you're already playing with, does he have prophecy, does he not have prophecy? I don't know. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't, I don't know. That's a legitimate statement to say. Yes, marry this girl, not marry this girl, whatever. So if you believe it, you believe it. If you accept it, you accept it. There's nothing wrong with that per se, unless if he's wrong, and then it's a problem. But if he talks to you in halacha, he says, listen, this guy says this, and he says, no, I'm telling you, I know that this is the halacha. Like, how do you know? If he doesn't explain to you because it says in the Shulchan Aruch, or because it says in the Ramah, or the Magen Avram, or the Taz, or who knows what, and he just says, I know, then you're in the danger zone. Big danger zone. Is that there? Okay.
My friend hosted a big Mekubal rally at his house, and they did a whole shiur. It was like a couple hours. Afterwards, I talked with him. I was expecting something great. Like, this guy's got some great insights. I told him who I was, where I was from. He's like, "Oh, you need to move to Eretz Yisrael immediately." But I was like, "I've been in Eretz Yisrael for a year. I live here. I moved already." So he's like, It was interesting. It was like he made this assumption, like he
Yeah,
knew
'cause
exactly
you're-
where I was holding, but it was wrong.
So again, I'm not. I don't know enough. Bemet, it's not my realm of Kabbalah and understanding how that works. But again, things that are outside the halachic realm, maybe people have the ability to say certain things. But in halacha, the fact that I have some kind of connection to Hashem that's not the regular connection has zero tafkid according to the Rambam. I will just add, because we're going to go on from here. That was it. This is the end of prophecy and halacha. Okay, next we're going to halacha. That's the next place, which is more important, which is really what the Rambam wants to do. So there, it's talking about the different parts of the Torah Shebaal Peh, which is maybe one of the Rambam's greatest contributions to understanding how the Torah works. But I will say there are other opinions. So to be fair, there are people. The Rambam is very, very kitzoni. He's very extreme in his complete disconnect between halacha and prophecy. There are people who are less stringent in that differentiating between halacha and prophecy. There are great rabbanim who think a little otherwise than the Rambam. You know, for other shiurim, when we learn other shiurim, not the Rambam. Shkayach.
Yeah.